a members only live, but because I am out of town and get my water. Because I'm out of town and should I have gone around that way? And my phone is just giving me a problem. My phone and my tablet is they're both giving me a problem on putting it on members only. And I didn't bring my I brought my tablet, I didn't bring my laptop. So I'm just gonna do this since it's so early in the morning. It's 7 a.m. A little bit after 7 a.m. Sunday morning on the East Coast, which means it's uh, 4 a.m. in California, and it is hello whoever just came in. It's 4 a.m. in California, and it's 6 a.m. Central Time. So, and I don't know what it is Mountain Time, but I'm just gonna do it this way, put it and then put it on members only. That's the only way I can do it and fulfill my promise. So, as the title say, hey, Very Carrie, thank you for coming in. So, as the title says, okay, so let's start by saying I have decided for my members only lives. Hey, Candy Kane. Hey, Gary Prim. Um, and Jinxie. Jinxie. Hello. So I have decided for my members only, and like I just said, I tried to do members only. I'm out of town. It will not allow me to be great and do members only. Want me to verify myself, and I can't because the device they want me to verify myself on, I don't have access to right now. So I'm gonna have to do it, put it on unlisted or put it on private, and then change it over to members that way. Okay. But I wanted to go ahead and do this live. And in my members only, I said I was gonna start talking about myself. That's basically. So if you don't want to hear about Cruiser, just don't be a member. You don't have to hear about Cruiser. But those of you who are interested, um, then here it is. And this was all inspired actually by a little joke or a little drag joke that was done on me. And I was like, They always say, spill your own tea. I'm going to try to move over here because I'm trying to sit up on this little thing here. I'm trying to sit my booty up on this thing. Let me see if I can sit up here. Hey, right to be told. So they always say, spill your own tea. Hey, Leslie. So I said, well, let me do that. Let me spill my own tea. So I've always been very straightforward about my marital status, and usually have done it in a very joking way. And there have been chats. I think Very Carry chat was one of them, where I basically told. I like that sliding door. See, I'm gonna get distracted a whole lot. I like that sliding door on that yacht. It look like a house door. I could walk down there for y'all to see it, but uh, I have many times told, basically my truth or my story concerning my marriage. And it's my business. I don't have to tell it. But I don't mind sharing it. I mean, listen, life is life. And life happens. And it is what it is. And whatever way it goes, decisions I make, ain't no use in me, feeling no kind of way about it to be ashamed of it. But look at this. Yeah, I'm in Virginia. Yeah. Look at this. I keep forgetting I can't zoom in on YouTube, but I like that little boat. I like this yacht. Anyway, so how deep is this water? It is so nasty. Um, okay, let me get right to it. So I got married when I was 21 years old. Met him when we met when I was 21. We actually met earlier. We actually met when I was about 15 years old, but not met in any type of dating way. We went to the same church. My parents were members of his uncle's church. His uncle was the pastor, and he was a very active member there. And at the time, like I said, I was around 15 years old, and that would have made him 22 years old. Hey, Ray Black. So he was 22 years old. And wasn't nobody looking at nobody. Again, I was 15, he was 22. But nobody looking at nobody. I was at church because my parents made me go. All of us. You grow up in the house, your parents go to church, and they're very active in church. You got to get up and go to church. So that's why I'm there. I'm like any other teenager. Sometimes want to be there, sometimes don't. Like any other teenager. And didn't pay, I just knew he went there. I didn't pay much attention to him. He's a grown up, right? So some years go by, I graduate from school, and uh, I graduated from school and went on about my life. I moved to California, going to school, moved to California. Then my sister was in the Air Force, so I wanted to go out there with her for a little while. And some years went by, and when I was 21, so this was many, many years go by. When I was 21, we were reintroduced by a mutual friend, and so we started dating. And when I met him when I was 15 and he was 22, he was very committed to the church, a devout Christian then, at 22 years old. And so, of course, now that I'm 21, he's really mature in the Lord, as we say. And so we got married. We didn't date long, In the church, you meet folks, you don't be doing no long courtship. Y'all don't be doing no long courtship because ain't no fornication. Ain't no fornication. So you gonna get married before you burn. So we dated for a while, and when we got married, I was 21, he was 28. You see the big difference between 15 and 22, that's illegal, but 21 and 28 is fine. So there's no big deal. There's nothing to that story. That's just our ages. It's nothing to that. That was just the ages that we were. So anyway, got married, and had my first son when I was 24. So we had been married. Yeah, 21. I can imagine my children. I have a 22-year-old daughter. I can't imagine her getting married right now. Oh my God, I really couldn't. And anyway, so when I was 24, we had our first child, my son. And then when I was 26, we had my second child, my daughter. Now let me tell you, with my children. Now here's the thing about me. Growing up, I used to always tease and say, I wouldn't get married. I was not getting married. I was not having any children. I was going to get me a condo and a Mercedes, and just live my life. That's what I used to always say. And travel. That's what I said. I'm going to get a Mercedes, get a condo, and I'm going to travel. Not getting married, not having children. So I'm married, having babies now, 3 years later after marriage, start having babies. And let me tell y'all this. I love my children more than anything that I could imagine. Right to be told, I heard to be told says that she stuck to that plan. I mean, I don't regret, not only do I not regret marrying him, I do not regret having my children. I don't regret marrying him because if I didn't marry him, I wouldn't have my babies. So I had one 3 years into marriage, had another one when I was 26, and then I had my baby when I was 30. He very much wanted to be married, and he wanted 6 or 7 kids. He wanted a very large family. I think that was a nice compromise, 3. I think actually after 2 I was finished because I said a boy and a girl, it don't come in nothing else. I got one of each. It don't come in nothing else. But yeah, Ray Black to this day, he absolutely adore children. And they love him. They run right up to him. And so I had 3, and like I said, I adore my kids. Anybody who knows me well, or just a little bit, like know me like personally, they could tell you my kids first before everything. But anyway, so I don't regret having my kids. Don't regret marrying him because as a product we had the children. And when I first got married, I was like after a year or so, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? This, oh my God, this is forever, 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 ever, 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 forever, ever. And but I'm a person that's pretty. I'm a creature of habit, and I'm a consistent person. You know, like if I do something, I'm a keep doing it. I'm a stay right there. I'm a stay the course, that type thing. And so he was military, and so we've traveled. All three of my kids were born in three different states. Okay, none of them was born in the same state. That's how much we travel. It seemed like we had a baby, duty station, have a baby, duty station, have a baby. But anyway, so we had the kids and traveled from here and there, and over the years, I was, we were so involved with raising children. Hey, chat rep, what you laughing at? Get out of my chat rep. I'm just playing. Hey, chat rep. Um, we was busy with having children, his um, career, because when I married him, I was working at American Express and had been working there for a little while. And I had stopped going to school by that time, but I was had a pretty good job at American Express. And but when we started having children, because we was away from home, he didn't want his children to be in daycare. He didn't want his children to be dropped off for hours and hours a day. So we made a decision that I would be a stay-at-home mom. Okay, one child. Now we got two. And oh boy, 4 years later, now we got three. How long I'm gonna be at home? How long? Because some people want to be at stay. Hey, my friend Khadija Reeves. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Khadija Reeves. She's not in the beef sector, but she got some good content over there. I love her content. It's just so real. She's kind of like reminds Khadija Reeves that just came in the chat. She reminds me of Tita Talks. They have their stories are totally different, but I'm just saying the way she does her lives is like her real life, like Tita Talks. But anyway, so um oh, he did. So I'm a stay-at-home mama. I'm a stay-at-home mama, military wife. We spent a lot of years living on military bases in Fort Eustis, which is not far from where I'm at right now. We lived on post for a little while, and then in Fort Hood, we lived on post for a little while. And so I'm that whole military wife thing, honey. Um, very carry. Okay, once the children are out the roost, it's time to live. You better say that. Live your life. Amen. I was just talking about that yesterday. I said keep your health good and your finances good, so when your children get grown, you can do some stuff. But anyway, so um, and our whole life was church, which I loved. I loved going. I still love going. Like, well, I don't go to church, but I still enjoy church. I still enjoy gospel music. I still enjoy a good sermon. I still enjoy everything related to spirituality. Okay, but when we were here, and you're here, hey 300, you're here. Um, Jay Wilson talking about it sometimes. When he gets talking about the Norfolk area. Me and Jay Wilson was in this area of Hampton Roads at the same time. It was just that he was over at Norfolk State and I was over on Fort Eustis. Two young people leaving home. We're the same. Me and Jay Wilson is just what he's born in January, I think, or something like that. He's an Aries or whatever that is, in March, and I was born in August. So we just a few months apart in age. So at the same time, during the same time, we in the same area. And so you hear him talking about the churches here, and I'm so glad that when I had to move away from home, it was an area like this because it was plenty of churching for people, young people to do, and we enjoyed it. There was nobody here forcing us to go. Jay Wilson can say the same thing. His parents was all the way in Florida. My parents was all the way in North Carolina. So wasn't nobody making us go. We wanted to go. I mean, all day church, midnight services, and I enjoyed that. I didn't have no issue with that. I enjoyed that. So I'm raising my children. Um, we're raising our kids, and he was when he was in the military, because he was transportation. He was gone a lot. He traveled a lot. He deployed a lot without us. So he would be gone 3 months some years, some years 6 months, some years 4 months. It varied. So traveled, and that was pretty much it. I'm raising kids. I'm a military wife. I'm a church lady, you know, enjoying church, learning all types of things, church independently from mom and daddy, growing into my own spirituality, which is a wonderful thing when you grow into your own relationship with God and spirituality. So some years go by, and he retires. He retired when I was 36 years old, which would have made him, he's 7 years older. Not that it mattered, but how old he would have been? 40 something years old. So now our life is changing. Our children are getting older. They're still young, but they're getting older, more independent. And 43, thank you, 300. And so our children are older. I think my son was somewhere around, how old was Joshua in 2006? I don't know the math this morning, but he was born in 94. Uh, so he was about, what, 12? Uh, so if he was 12, then my middle child was about 10, and the baby was about 6. And he retired, and we moved back to North Carolina so that we can be closer to family and community. We want to raise our children with what we had: family, community, neighbors, folks in a town where folks know um, your children, and they grow up like we did. So we made the decision to move back to North Carolina home, and and life changed. Exactly, right to be told. 43 for him to start a second career. Yeah, now it's time for him to determine what he's going to do now. You're talking about somebody who don't know nothing else but the military. And really for him, retirement for him from the military was a forced thing because his last duty station was Iraq, and he got injured and he needed some surgery. So he came home, and he was home for a while, and he did the surgery. And when he was preparing to go back, uh, he didn't pass that physical. He needed some other surgeries, and it was a lot. And so he made the decision to go ahead at that time and retire. And again, for him, it was a decision that he made, but I think it was kind of a forced decision. He wasn't very happy about it. So I'm dealing with a man who just got back he did Kuwait first, and he did Iraq. I'm going to say this, I'm going to hit this, and I'm going to move on. I got back from Iraq. The person came back from Iraq was 85% different than the person who went. Anybody who's ever had a military husband that's deployed, whether it was Desert Storm, Iraqi Freedom, Bosnia, and he's been to all of these, y'all. But sometimes in them deployments, they come back a little different. Not a whole lot different, but just a tad, just a tad. Yeah, but that's kind of important to the story, but not really. But it's kind of important to the story, but not really. Um, the other thing is that I got to see him every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. And anybody who knows me well is like, Chat Rep, you would be in here and asking questions, Chat Rep, even though I like you very much. Um, he didn't sleep, um, because you're taught not to sleep. You gotta do 24 hours or 48-hour duties, watching stuff, you know, and so your sleep pattern change, or you have a hard time just going to sleep. So he definitely has post traumatic disorder from it. Um, like, to this day, 4th of July is a rough time, New Year's, because, they're going to do those fireworks. He don't like fireworks. Um, things, just little things like that. He was more agitated Yeah, oh yeah, PTSD, yes. A little bit more agitated, less patience. Um, uh, yeah, kind of like that. So yeah, so he changed a little bit, just a little bit. It wasn't big, but it's just a little bit. Uh, but now I got to see him every day. I got to see him every day. So he's trying to decide what he's going to do now. And for a little while, he didn't do anything because he, like I said, he needed a few more surgeries. Not major, just a few more surgeries. And no, he's to this day, he's 60 years old. He's in tip top shape. I mean, he can still run miles if his knees don't give him no problems. And very fit man. He's very fit for a 60-year old. Not even for a 60-year old, just period. He's more fit than some 20-year olds, to be honest. Um, so the health, he don't have any major health issues at all. But anyway, so now he's back. Now we made a decision. Now, and let me go back. When I was a stay-at-home mom, I just didn't stay at home. I didn't just stay at home. I went to Thomas Nelson Community College. I went to St. Leo's College. I was getting this, getting that, getting this because I was keeping my mind active. So the whole time I'm going to school, I'm doing it slow because I got children, so I can't be taking a full load. But I'm going to school and I'm picking up little odd work that I can do at home. And during the tax season, I'm working at Jackson Hewitt. Like after a couple of years of that, I became a manager, but I only have to work during the tax season, so it's not a big deal. Um, Things like that. So I'm staying active. So now it's my turn to work because that's what we decided on, right? That's what we decided on. That's what we said. You started impregnating me all these children. You said I can go to work when we get home, and the kid, the baby's in kindergarten now. We're at home, so strangers don't have to keep them. We both got aunts and uncles and cousins, and we're in the community where we grew up. I grew up, I know, because he's from South Carolina, but he's familiar with the community too. So now I want to go, and I got a job. The first job I got, I ain't like I had to leave there. I couldn't do that. I gave them a week notice. I ain't had no job or nothing. I was like, look, I give y'all another week here. I got to go. I got to go. And the Lord blessed me, and it was the Lord. The Lord blessed me with favor. That this woman that became a mentor to me, career wise, she became a mentor to me, and a great example to me. She passed away some years ago. She hired me. There was something about me that she saw, and she hired me against some other people. Other people like, no, just start her on a kind of a lower level, and she went against that and started me on a higher level, and kind of took me under her wing. And she said, I'm going to train her, and and it's the same job I've been on now. So now I'm thrown into my career. I'm from military military wife, stay at home mama, church woman to I got a career now. I'm traveling. I got to go train over here. I got to fly, Wednesday through Friday. I'm training over here, I got to fill in go travel over here, And now he's home. Now he's home because he's still recovering. And so what he decided to do, he worked at Delta Airlines for a while, but then what he decided to do was go into some businesses for himself. He's doing very well at that. But whatever he put his mind to, he's going to do well. He's just very disciplined. But so now he's home, and I'm out. Y'all see how we changing? We're changing. Things are changing, and we're changing. Things are changing, and sometimes people can change and grow well together, and sometimes not. Sometimes not. Roger B. Told said I broke up with my man because he changed shift. I hated seeing him so often. Girl, when we first moved back home, like the first month it was great, but then after a while I'm like, God, you ain't got nowhere to go, and you ain't getting deployed nowhere. Like you gonna be home every day. I got to see you every single day. Anyway, Anyways, but yeah, things just changed. Let me see, 300. One of the homeboys did Desert Storm in Iraq, and you could tell the difference in him when he came back, and I didn't have to live with him, so I can only imagine how it was. Yeah. I remember one time a friend of mine had came over. Well, she said that she was dropping off some stuff, and she said she was gonna put it in the door, and and she was out there kind of, she dropped some stuff, she was putting the stuff in the door, and she dropped some stuff, and it was like really early, and it was either late at night or very early in the morning, or somewhere in between. And she dropped some stuff, and it was making noise and stuff, and he jumped up, and he was just making, he said, huh. He was like real, I could just remember it to this day. And the way he went downstairs, it was just like, who are you, what are you doing? But that was just, that's just, yeah, that's something people will never, I will never understand. I will never understand in my life what any soldier, woman or man, went through. Desert Storm, Iraqi freedom, Bosnia, even little places that most people don't even know about, because if it didn't get a name, but anyway, so we're different now. I'm different, he's different, and so it's like, well, where do we go from here? And then even though I still like church and spirituality, and I'm at this point I'm very involved in church, because during the time when he was in the military, he became ordained, or ordained licensed preacher. In fact, we used to live here, the church that we attended here, they used to call him a preaching deacon. That's the preaching deacon. Because even as a deacon, he could preach. A deacon in the CME church is actually a reverend or a preacher, but a deacon in some of the other churches is, like a trustee. But he got ordained and licensed, and so now he's preaching. Now he's in the military and he's a preacher. So when he's home and he's self-employed and retired from the military, so he can do more preaching. So that's what he was doing, a lot of that. And we was very involved in the church. I enjoy, like I said, church don't bother me. I enjoy church. It ain't nobody dragging me out. But even though I enjoy it, I wanted something more. I mean, you can enjoy the movies, but you don't want to just go to the movies all the time. You want to do some other stuff. I mean, there's so many different layers to us as people. We're not just one thing. Um, and during this time when I'm traveling, you know, and having to interact with people, after work, we go down and let's all go out to eat together and blah, blah, blah. And at the time I didn't drink, which didn't bother me. I went through some years where I didn't listen to secular music, didn't go out and dance, club, and stuff like that. So now I'm listening to a little bit of secular music, kind of getting back into it, and coming into myself, A lot of things I kind of think I did because he didn't want to or he didn't like it. But now I'm coming into myself. So I'm really evolving into myself. So when I turned 40, or I was about to turn 40, my sister said, we're going to have you something. We're going to do something for your 40th birthday, since you wasn't home for your 30s. Because, you do something when you turn 21, and then you do something when you turn 30, you do something when you turn 40. So they said, we're going to do something. What you want to do? And I said, I don't know. What y'all going to do? They were like, no, you need to tell us what you want to do. I did not know what I wanted to do and what I liked doing. I didn't know. And at this point, my children, they're getting older. My baby was 10. My middle child was 14. And my son, which means he would have been going towards 16 or was 16. And it's like they don't really, they doing their stuff independently. Um, and it's like, who am I? What do I like? And when I started kind of growing into my own, now we're growing apart. We had already decided some years prior, before he retired from the military, that yearly I would take a trip by myself. Now, not him, no kids. And I was doing my yearly trips by myself. And, but then it got to the point where I said, well, you know, you can come on to such and such with me. Why don't you go with me? And he would say, I've traveled the world. I've been everywhere. I don't like travel. I don't want to pack no bags and travel nowhere. You just go. Just go and have a good time. And so I'm traveling by myself without him. Um, yes, thank y'all for coming in the chat. Please hit that like button for me. If y'all could hit that like button for me. So I'm traveling by myself. Um, it's almost like I was married and not married because other than church and kids, we really didn't do anything else together. We was just apart, growing apart. And I will tell this, but I ain't gonna go into it. He did not like my job or me working. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. I ain't got my groove back. I ain't lost my groove. See, still ain't have no groove. I had. Anyway, um, he didn't like that whole job thing. He didn't like it. He never did say he didn't like it, but he used to kind of complain about different stuff. Um, um, so we're growing apart, and now we're bickering. Is my phone okay? It looks like it's kind of. And now we're bickering. Now we're not getting along. Um, and so when I turned 40, and we're bickering, and we're not getting along, and we're barely speaking, and we're doing our own. I'm doing well. He doing his. He going to church and preaching, and I'm hanging out with my sisters at this point. Trying to go out and dance a little bit, and he didn't. Of course, he didn't like that either. Um, I just decided one day that I didn't want to be married no more. I just decided one day, and I remember one day I was watching TV, and I fell asleep on the couch, and I woke up, and mind you, um, a lot of music is kind of new to me even now because I didn't listen to secular music before. So even now, I don't know what song is a new song or old song. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and Michelle Crissette was on TV. And I don't know why this is significant to me, but it is significant to me because the song have nothing to do with him, because the song don't match him. But I woke up in the middle of the night, and she was singing this song called Epiphany. I'm just about being over being your girlfriend. Now that ain't my boyfriend, and he don't match the song, but something about that song. And I said in my mind, I'm gonna get me a Mercedes. I'm gonna leave him. Why those two things? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So the next day when I woke up and came to my right mind, I said I can't leave him. I can't do that. The church folk, my parents, my family, my children, the house, the holdings that we got, the bank account. I can't leave him. I must be crazy. But I'm gonna go get that car. So I told him about it. And so some more months went by. Some more months went by. Fell asleep on the couch again, and woke up. And guess who on TV again on some talk show? Michelle Crissette. And guess what she was singing? Epiphany. Just about over being your girlfriend. Now, they ain't got nothing to do with nothing. They ain't got nothing to do with that. But something, I don't know. At that point, I said, I'm going to do it. 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 I got to do it. I got to do it. So I said to him, so we was coming home from church, and we had got into it that morning. I can't remember about what. And on the way back, we weren't talking to each other. And I said to him, I said, Josh, we don't get along. I said, we don't get along. And he said, yeah, I know. And he said, but that's how marriage is sometimes, up and down. It's like that. So I said, okay. So I said, let me try to approach this from another way. So later on that night, after we ate dinner and everything, and we were just both sitting in the den, and I said, you ever think about separating? And he looked me right in my face and he said, no, I'm never leaving my home, never leaving my family, never leaving my children. And he turned back around and looked at TV. And so I ain't say nothing. I just went on upstairs. So the next day he called me at work and he said, I'm never leaving my home. I'm not leaving my home. And so I said, I heard you. So at that point, I said, I gotta move. I gotta move. He's not leaving. I gotta move. And I started thinking, can I afford to move? Because I just bought this Mercedes. So I got a car payment. I got a car note. And I'm talking about moving out and paying some bills. I got to pay some bills on my own. And so I thought about it, started saving up money, and found a little apartment. And at first I was like, I can't do this. Cause check it out. Even though I was leaving my home, everything that came out of me was going with me. There's a song called "Heaven Help Us" by George Michaels. He sang it. He sung it actually with a British black guy, but the beginning of that song it says, "Take the windows, take the walls, but baby, just leave me with my peace of mind." There was two things I want to leave with. Number one, my children, and number two, my peace of mind. And so, hey, Miss Queenie, good morning. So I so I started saving up and saw that apartment. I was thinking, God, this apartment is so small, but it'll fit all my kids. 3 bedrooms. The girl's gonna have to share a room, but they'll get over it. They'll be alright. And my son have his room and 3 bedrooms. And y'all, that apartment, you could fit the bottom of our house. You could fit that apartment in the bottom of our house and still have room. But I was like, this is all I can afford. This is what I can afford. Um, she said, right to be told, a girl, those kids would have stayed with him. Stay right there. Keep that thought. I'm gonna tell you something about that. So, made a plan, called some movers, started putting little like in the military. You put stickers on the stuff. How you when you PCS when you get PCS orders and the military come in and move you, you put the stickers on the stuff. For the movers to know what to take. Blah blah blah. So I hired some movers because that's what I was used to that. We were doing in the military, and put my little stickers on. By the second day, he started noticing the little stickers. He said, "Why are you putting the stickers on something?" And I mumbled something. I didn't really tell him. He just kind of looked at me because I wasn't ready to tell him yet. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I'm gone. Bye bye. Now, I had already resigned as Sunday school, adult Sunday school teacher at the church. Uh, I had already removed myself from some other positions. And then I left the church. I talked to the bishop, told him I was leaving. And he said, "This is not a good time. This is not a good time because the main bishop over the body passed away, and now I'm the bishop, which means I'm not pastoring my church no more. I'm the bishop that have to go, and your husband's about to become the elder of this church. That's your problem, bishop. I'm out. He can be a single elder or whatever. That's, hey, I don't know what you're gonna do with that." So of course he's trying to say, "No, just don't do it. Can we talk to you? Can you have counsel?" I'm out. Holla. I'm out. And he didn't understand that, me leaving. I think in his mind he knew. Now you seeing these stickers, and I done left the church. Hey TC, I done left the church. And you seeing these stickers. I think in his mind he knew this heifer about to leave me. But you just kind of go through life and just thinking, okay, she's just acting out. She's just acting out. And so the movers came. And when the movers came, all hell broke loose. The movers were like, ma'am, we can't do this. We can't, because every little thing they were going to take, he was fussing. We was fussing. We were fussing with each other. We were fussing. And I was telling him, not in front of, don't do this in front of the kids. It was like, and I finally had to say, I said to him, I said, you want the neighbors, the police have to pull up here for me to move? Is that what we're going to show them? And that's what kind of got him to kind of, let it happen. And that pretty much, um, I just one day decided to, well, see, that's the thing, TC. It was nothing to be fed up about. People think that folks break up because somebody messed around or somebody is being abused, or sometimes you just grow apart. And that's why I feel like my story, and my story ain't no more important than any other story, than any like a woman who left her husband because he beat her, or a woman who left her husband because he was messing around, or a woman who left her husband because he didn't love her, or he left her. My story ain't no more important, but my story is different. And what I try to say to married people, especially if they have kids, sometimes you just grow apart. I advocate marriage. I love marriage. Stay married. If it's working, do everything you can to stay married. That's my thing. I honestly, my hand before God, I believe that. But if you're miserable for whatever reason, get on out. And it was that he wasn't and ain't a bad man. He's not a bad man. He wasn't abusive. He if he messed around, I ain't never know. You know, none of that. It was I just was just we grew apart. We were different people. We was doing had different interests. We wasn't getting along because of I was changing, and I wasn't gonna go back to that 21-year-old that he married. I had changed, and so I left. I left, and it was hard. It was hard financially. Now here's the part right to be told. Now I told y'all everything that came out of me was going with me. So we got into it about my son, and my son didn't want to go. My son didn't want to go. So I said I'm gonna let him spend the night, and when I get everything situated in the house, because my son is autistic, so change for him is already hard, and he's been living in this house, for a while, and he's like, "What are we doing here? Changing? No, I can't change." And so, how you doing? So he said, I left him there for a while, and I said, once I get everything in the house and everything straightened out, then I'm going to, uh, he's going to have to move in. He's going to have to get used to it, and he's going to have to come on with mama. And my son just never wanted to come. So my dad, and me and his dad used to argue. My girls were with me. And so me and my dad, I'm talking about what my daddy did, made me mad at him for some months. Um, we argued back and forth, and he said, the boy just ain't going. He ain't going, so get over it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm coming to get my son. It was just a whole thing. And my dad came up to my house one day, and he said, let that boy stay with his daddy. Let that boy stay with his daddy. Now, that's enough of that. Let him go. And I felt like my daddy was taking his side. Like, I was like, I'm your daughter. And you lost connection. And I think I went, okay. Hear me okay? Okay, put a 1 in the chat for me, please. Or just say, yeah. So, and I'm almost done. This went longer than I thought it was going to go. But, so my son stayed with him. My son stayed with him. And that was a little bit difficult because it's like, I should have everybody with me. And, but my son wanted to stay there. And I saw him. We lived close enough. We lived close enough to where I saw my son and he saw the girls every day. In fact, he helped me get the house up the street for him. And I lived literally up the street for him for years because he said he wanted to see his children every day. He told me, he said, look, I went years with military where I was deployed or, had overnight duties and a lot of that. And I did not see my kids. He said, I want to see my kids every day. And I told him, I said, I can't afford that house. I can't afford, that neighborhood. And he said, I will help you I will assist you. He said, I'll bother you. I just see my kids every day. So, and that worked out. I lived in that house until my youngest daughter was 16 years old. Yeah, 16 years old. That's when I moved out of the house and moved in the next city over. Because she's 16. And one of them, my son's grown. My other daughter, she's grown. She's in college at this time. She was 20 years old, and the baby was 16. So, and I bought a house in this city over. But I will always appreciate him for assisting me because, it was for his. Listen, I could stand in my driveway and look over to the left and kind of up and see the top of his house. That's how close we lived. The kids could run over there. It was like a block away. Um, so, they could walk there and walk back. It was, it's just very close. Um, but two things. Number one, we're not divorced. So I was going. Well, let me say this. Two things. Two things. I want people to get out of this. Number one, sometimes you just grow apart. Sometimes it's nobody's fault. It's neither one of y'all's fault. You just grow apart. That's number one. Number two, if you have children, love those children more than you dislike each other. And parent and co-parent those children. The court shouldn't have to get involved and tell you how to raise your children. We didn't do none of that. We did none of that. None of that child support stuff, because we had them. They didn't choose us. We chose each other and had them. So we were able to do that, and we were able to co-parent the kids. I think we did a good job with co-parenting as far as us getting along to co-parent. Now, there was one time when my baby girl she wanted to be a little asshole. She was going through her little asshole stage. And let me tell you about fathers, because my father was like this. Fathers' girl can't do no wrong. And when they do wrong, it's somebody else's fault. That was him. That was my dad, and that was him. And, when I used to get on baby girl, you just too hard on her. And why you talk to her like that? And blah, 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 blah. So he called me at work one day and told me, she coming up here to stay with me, up the street. Big deal, she come up here to stay with me. So I said, no, she's not. No, she's not. And I just hung up. So on my ride home, I called my mom. I said, he calling me, he fussing again, talking about, Courtney's coming to stay with him. My mom said, let her go. Let her go on up there. Let him live with a 14-year-old girl, a 14-year-old teenager that's going through her jackass stage. Let her go. Let her go up there. And honey, she went up there. She was there for 2 or 3 months. He was looking haggard. I said, you want to come on back home to me, right? Yeah. So yeah, she came on back. But you can co. Let me see. That's why I'm glad I've never gotten married, because I don't believe in divorce, and that would be very hard for me. Let me talk about the divorce thing. It's the best to leave each other than to sit in something and be miserable, angry with. Yeah, just tearing. You see some people just tearing each other apart. There was a comedian one time, and he said, me and my wife, we ain't leaving each other. We ain't never leaving each other, because we don't want each other. We hate each other so much that we don't want each other to be happy. We just gonna be together and make each other miserable. I said, listen to that. He said it as a joke, but it's like, why would people do that? Just tearing each other, and the kids watching, and listen, I couldn't do it. I have so many questions for people who date separated people that did in relationship from the start. Yeah, I agree. And here's the funny thing. I won't date somebody who's separated. Isn't that hypocritical? I will not date somebody who's separated. So I was doing all the paperwork and everything to get the divorce. They said before that we had to do, at the time I had never heard of property settlement agreement. I had never heard of such property settlement agreement, property settlement part. Like, we didn't have no issues with child custody or anything like that. That was no problem. We both agree. Don't need nothing. Y'all remind me to tell y'all that I was in therapy and why I was in therapy too. I had to go to therapy. But we didn't have to do that. But when it came to the property settlement part, and we going to attorneys to get my name off deeds, and his name off of this and my name off of that, and do this and get that, and it was tiring. It was almost stressful. And he called me at work one day and he said, why do you want to divorce me? And I said to him, Josh, don't call me with this stuff at work. He said, no. He said, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. He said, I'm gonna come up there during what time you're going to eat lunch, I'm going to come up and bring you a sandwich. I said, okay. And I was thinking in my mind, I hope he ain't coming up here with no bullshit. So he came by. He said, what I'm trying to say to you is, are you in love with somebody? Like, are you trying to get married? I said, not really, no. And said, no, I ain't in love with nobody. I ain't trying to marry nobody, no. He said, why we need to do this divorce thing? Why do we even need to do this? He said, you're going to lose all your military benefits. You're going to lose your military card, your military benefits. We got to go through all of this stuff. Things are going to get more expensive for both of us tax-wise. And he said, really, some of the stuff I do, you still manage it, you know. He said, so what are we doing this for? He said, I could see if one of us was getting married, but what are we doing this for? And I said, let me think about that. Let me think about that. So that weekend I said to him, I said, well, what if I'm dating? You know, I said, what if I'm dating? He said, I don't care about that. He said, that ain't none of my business. I just don't want to know, but that ain't none of my business. He said, so we just never divorced. And the agreement is, if he meets somebody and he fall in love, come divorce me. If I meet somebody and I fall in love, I'll divorce him. But financially, it's basically business. Basically, that's it. You would have kept it all. You were with him for 10 years. Cause we were together. I mean, like legally, we're still married. So in October, it'd be what, 30? I don't know. We got married and I was, so 32 years. 32 years, I guess, in October. Something like that. 31, 32, 33, something like that. I stopped counting after I left. So yeah. But, you know, there's nothing, I'm trying to say this in a way that's not going to make me sound real bad right now. Not going to make me sound real bad. He's a country guy. He's a Southern man, a Southern church boy. You take on a wife, your family is your responsibility. Your wife is your responsibility. There's nothing that he would not withhold from me if I needed it, for real. And I don't mind working for what I get. For me, there's a satisfaction in working for what I get. So even if we would have went through that, I wouldn't have been like, I'm gonna take you for everything. I'm gonna get the house. I'm gonna get this. Listen, get that off the car. Get that to me. And a few other things. Over there in Newport News, I take that too. And we're good to go. We're good to go. So that worked for me. I love these type of, and this right to be told, this is supposed to go on members only, but because I'm out of town, YouTube would not let me access my creative studio and put it on members only. So, but it's gonna go on members only. It's gonna go on members only. But why I like boats? Why I'm so obsessed with boats and selling, we're getting in the next members only. We're gonna save dating. Put a pencil there. We're gonna date. Y'all don't want to miss dating. Baby, look at here. Y'all don't want to miss dating. Hey, Faithful Wisdom. Property is not that important. You can get back. Let me tell you something. I had put this post on Facebook the second day that I came home from work to this apartment. And by then I got everything in. I got everything situated. And on the drive home from work, I said, when I get there, I'm going to be depressed because this apartment is so small. And I said, when I get there, I'm going to be depressed. And I got home and I walked in and I sat down at the kitchen table and I just smiled. I said, this mine. I did this. Not my daddy. Thank you, Ray Black. Not my daddy. This is not a daddy's home. You know, leave your parents' home, you leave your daddy's place. You know, I remember when we got married, my daddy looked over at my husband. He said, you're in it now. And what he was trying to tell him was, every financial responsibility that I've been doing, that's yours now. It's yours. That's what he said to him. You in it now. I was no longer being taken care of by my parents. I was no longer being taken care of by a husband. That little apartment was mine. Whatever it was mine. And there was a satisfaction to that, that I could accomplish that. And when I bought my home, I got in the car. You know how you do closing. I was in the attorney's office doing my closing. And this was the first home I bought by myself. Just me. Just me. And there was some satisfaction to that too. But yeah. 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 Therapy. I'm gonna talk about hit therapy real quick. I had to go to therapy because I felt guilty. People leave marriages and they're depressed and they're sad and they're this and they're that. I was the happiest old health. Ooh, I was the happiest. I was so free. I felt so free. I could breathe. I could breathe. It was the greatest thing. And I felt guilty all the time. I felt guilty because I was happy. I felt guilty because I left them. I felt guilty because everything made me feel guilty. So I had to go to therapy for that. And every now and then, it still creeps back up in me where I feel guilty. I felt so guilty that I was hoping that he would date somebody, that he would find somebody, so that he could, I figured if he was real happy, that'll take away some of the guilt. But I felt real guilty for leaving him. So I did some therapy. That was my first time being in therapy ever in my life. And I believe in therapy. I've been in therapy a couple of times since then. You know, I'm going through anything, I'm going to therapy. When I lost my friend 2 years ago, she passed suddenly, unexpectedly. I went to therapy. My good friend. We were good friends. In fact, she was the friend after we started hanging. Sometimes after I left him, she taught me how to not be so afraid of everything and so restricted, you know, like so rigid, I guess is the word I can, cause see, as disciplined and as organized and as planned out as I am, she was just like, ain't had a care in the world. She didn't worry about nothing. She, you know, so we was so opposite. And so that was she was my great, if I had to say a best friend, and I don't like to say best friends because I have so many good friends, she was a best friend. She was a bestie for sure. So I went to therapy after that. I went to therapy after my daughter had her brain surgery. Went to therapy after that. So I've been to therapy. Right, but like when you say where I happened, when you mean after I left or before I left? Because after I left, yes, honey, happy wasn't the word. Happy wasn't the word, honey. Yeah, right. To be told, I don't see how people can kind of pinpoint one person to be their best friend. You know, like I have great friends, so you know, and then I have great acquaintances. I know the difference between a friend and acquaintance, but I have some good friends. So I can't pinpoint just one. Let me see what I missed before I go off. Yeah, I know, but as far as the law is concerned, marriage is a business and binding contract. That's why you have to go through the courts to end them. Yeah. The government want to be in. The government want to be in it when you get married and tell you to go get a license and go get this test and that test, and tell you how to do when you get married. And the government want to be in it when you get out of it. The government want to be in your business all the time. I love, right to be cold, I love my house. It is such an accomplishment into what I did by myself. I understand. Yeah, that little apartment, I had liked that apartment. And when I moved into the house, you know, that he got for us, I like that. You know, it served its purpose. But when I bought my townhouse, I picked that townhouse and bought it, what I live in right now. And I love it. I love it because it's mine. And folks talking about, you don't own it, it's the bank own it, the mortgage company own it, and bank own. Listen, they can't come put me out unless I don't pay it. Unless I don't pay that mortgage, they can't come pick me out. Ain't no lease up. And after a certain amount of time, it do belong to me. So, let's see, I'm looking for a good therapist now. I feel guilty doing myself. People always tell you to practice care, but they shame you for. Right to be told, girl, if you just, girl. Don't pick yourself, honey. Everybody looking for you to do. Child, you said a mouthful. I could talk a whole lot about that. You said a mouthful. Were you sheltered as a young lady and then married, where now your husband provided everything for you and the family? Were you sheltered as a young lady and then married, where now your husband provided everything for you and your family? I think I know what you're asking. Sheltered. My parents, growing up, we could go out. By 15, I was driving. I had a job and I had a little 1974 Pinto. Uh, so, and my mom bought it for me when I was 15 years old because I was working at Burger King and I had to get back and forth. Driving illegal and drove myself up to the license plates when I was 16, the driver's license place to get my driver's license. She had to come up there to sign, but she met me up there. But But anyway, so I had some independence. I worked in. We could go out. We had a curfew. uh, but we can go out, we could go, we could dance and go to dances and listen to secular music. My parents weren't no types that was like, don't listen to secular music, you can't dance. They understood that we had to come into our own. And my parents listened to secular music. My parents loved to dance. I wasn't raised a strict. We were we sheltered? I would say yes, we were sheltered. Um, I would say, especially me and my younger sister, especially us. Um, I did work, but my parents did. By the time my sisters got older and graduated, my parents were doing pretty good, pretty good. And so yeah, there was some perks to that. Uh, and my daddy was very protective. He was strict and protective, but yet we had some freedoms. But when I married him, he's Pentecostal. He's more. He don't listen to no secular music. He ain't dancing. Uh, he barely watched TV. So he's a little bit more, as far as faith wise, he's a little bit more stricter than my parents. My parents ended up leaving his uncle's church, probably because of that. Uh, but I don't know. But anyway, so kind of yes and no. Army green color. Mine was an ugly brown 1974. That thing was, what was that, a 5-speed or a 4-speed? And then at one point the car door was broke, and then the seat wouldn't catch, and you had to put something behind the seat to make sure it didn't slide back. That thing was a trip, and I was ashamed of driving it. My daddy ended up giving that car to somebody he worked with, which was a college student. I came home one day and from school, and I said, "Where my car at?" I'm jumping my car and go somewhere, because even though I used to complain about it a lot, at least it got me from here and there. He said, "Oh, you didn't appreciate that car. You had like you was embarrassed over it, so I gave it to Ricky." You gave my car to Ricky? It was a guy that worked with him that was in college. He was like, "Yeah, Ricky be catching the bus, and stuff." And he said, "Ricky gonna appreciate that car." That was a lesson that day. My daddy gave my car away, and he was serious. It wasn't no joke. He gave my car away. I learned a lesson. My daddy was, he was notorious at teaching you the most wonderful lessons. You gonna get the lesson. But anyway, Khadijah, you had a Ford Pinto too. Child, mine was 900. I think my mama gave that man $920 something for that Ford 1974 Ford pickup, and Ford Pinto, and this was in. If I was 15, this would have been somewhere around 1985. No, yeah, 1985, 1974 car. Yeah, it was $900 something. She gave that man. My mom is a dancing Christian, can't keep her off the dance floor. Honey, I got a video right now of my mom on her birthday dancing with her grandkids. I said, look at her. I did. It taught me a lesson to not complain, because I ain't have no car. I had to borrow mama car when she would let me, when she wasn't in a mood, or borrow his. And I didn't want to drive. He had an Impala. And I know Impalas started getting popular in the early 2000s, but back then, wasn't no Impala, no popular, driving that big old car, big old family car. And So when my mama would let me drive, my mama had the nicer car. Sometimes she would let me drive her car. But yeah, I went from having my own little ride to jump in anytime I want to having to, you know, do other stuff. Yeah, I learned my lesson. Yeah, I sure did. I sure did. And I'm trying to, wish I would have taught my daughters one a little bit earlier in life. Yours was white with the blue. Oh, I remember them down the side. Oh, girl, you had the nice one. You had the sporty one, girl. You had the sporty one. I would have learned to buy something myself that way. Somebody can't give it up. I did. When I was 18 years old, they was doing this thing. Khadijah might have remembered because I think she lived somewhere close in the Greensboro area back in the day. In 1988, I was 18 years old. They had this thing called the first time buyers plan at the Nissan dealership. And they was selling all these kids anywhere from 18 on up. Brand new cars. I had a brand new 1988 Nissan Sentra 5-speed. Mine was, I can't remember whether it was 2-door or 4-door. But honey, you couldn't tell me nothing. Now I was constantly behind on them payments on that car, but you couldn't tell me nothing. I had to learn about something else. Let me see. I think I read that. My year Impala, my granddaddy was a 1964 light blue 4-door door Impala. Yeah, his was blue too, 4-door. It was blue, like a lighter color blue, like a little darker than a Carolina blue 4-door. I can't remember what year it was. It wasn't that old. And maybe it was, I don't know. I just remember it was the Impala and I didn't want to drive it. But yeah, Khadijah, you remember when they was selling all them cars? Them guys, all the guys was getting them Nissan pickup trucks. And the girls were getting them Nissan. Everybody had Nissan Sentra. Everybody had Nissan Sentra. All the guys had them Nissan trucks. That was a mess. That was a mess that year. What made them decide to do that? That was a bad decision. That was a mess. But I kept mine. Because I had to get around. But yeah, I don't know what made them do that. I still had that car when I got married too. Yeah, I kept mine. But a lot of my friends lost theirs. Theirs went back. And them trucks and things. See them trucks one day, them trucks was gone about 4 months later. I'm like, Dad, you had the truck for 4 months. You didn't pay one payment. Not one. It seems as if your husband provided all the things that most women would dream for, and the man that hope that God joined them together. Seemed like you lost your identity in the marriage or who you were. I think so. I mean, you know, like I said in the beginning, I had been working, you know, at American Express, and I think I had been there like 2 years. Before that, I worked for Capitol Records. Where I in Greensboro, they used to call it SEMA Distribution, and SEMA Distribution was just a warehouse that's where they, you know, where we packed up all the CDs and cassette tapes. Y'all remember cassette tapes? All the CDs and cassette tapes of music of any artist. Like Phyllis Hyman was under Capitol Records. Phyllis Hyman, what's the other? What's the dude? Too Legit to Quit. MC Hammer. MC Hammer, I met him. He came down to the distribution center one time. Just anybody who was, you know, recording on the Capitol Records. That's the music that came through there. So I worked there for a while. Left there, went to American Express. So I had my own little jobs and stuff. But when I married him, like I said, when I had my son, that's pretty much when I stopped working and became a stay-at-home mom. And yes, he paid. He was the breadwinner. He paid everything. Even when I got my job, the one I have now in the beginning, yeah, I didn't pay no bills, no down payment, but as soon as you skip the payment, they snatched it up. I was working in Lexington. I know where Lexington, Leggett plant, child. Yep. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no down payment. You came up there, you know, they tell you, but I remember the sales guy said, just tell me what insurance your parents got, and I just add the car to that. And I was like, okay. I don't add this car to my parents' insurance. That was distribution center wasn't there when I lived there. Oh, you lived in Greensboro? Yeah, it was. This was in what was this, about 19, I must have been 89 or 90, that Capitol Records was there. Right down off 68. right there, right off 68 was where it was. Um, yeah, it was there then. It was there then, right off 68. And then I left there. I'm gonna tell you something else, right? To be told, you might remember. I worked at the American Express distribution center, where they had all in there. They had all the furs. This definitely got to go on membership because I'm telling a lot. They had all the furs, $10,000 rings. We had to go in this like if it was something that wasn't high value, they would just have it out in the warehouse. But I worked in a room where I would watch and scan packages coming in and out, filling orders. They had to only there was only about 5 or 6 of us that could get in that room, because in that room were like I said, you had $10,000 items. There was one fur in there that was like $20,000. So that's why it had to be cold in there, because they had the furs in there. But that was when American Express used to offer certain items to only certain members, because they was the only ones who couldn't afford that shit. So they had to. And I used to work there. I was working there when I married him. And then I would, you swipe yourself in, and there was cameras everywhere, and you had to swipe yourself out, and stuff like that. I just remember everybody working. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you something else. Right to be told. Right to be told. You remember when Tabitha Brown was here? Tabitha Brown came. Well, she lived in Greensboro. Now her husband worked with my sisters. He used to work with my sisters. Two of my sisters. And she and I worked at the same place at the same time. I don't remember her though. I do not remember her, but me and her worked at the same place at the same time. APAC. Yep. Yep. Me and Tabitha Brown at APAC. And you know what was funny was that Tabitha Brown must have a daughter the same age as my daughter, because I had came, oh God, that's going to be another story. I'm going to have to put in members only, because I had left my husband one time before. I had left him one time before, y'all. But anyway, we'll tell that in another members only when we add it to dating. But I had came home. I called myself coming home. I'm going home. I don't want to be here. I'm gone. I'm out. And I got me a job at APAC. And that's when Tabitha Brown was there. So I'm working at APAC. And darn it, guess who pregnant? Me. So I went on back to who was he at the time? Fort Houston. Went on back to Fort Houston. I wasn't gonna stay that. I wasn't gonna stay that long anyway. That time when I left, I wasn't really going. Thank you for coming in, 300. I appreciate that. Yep. And she was pregnant too. I worked with Tabitha. I do. And it seemed like she was a supervisor or team leader or something. I vaguely remember her, but not really. Yeah, she was there for a while, but she was also back when I was there. Yep. Yep, I remember when she lived in Greensboro. So when she came home to Greensboro, I mean, yeah, well, she's from on up past Burlington, but they lived in, everybody once you live out there, they come to Greensboro area for jobs and stuff when they graduate. But when she came home, she went everywhere. She was everywhere. She came out to the city park in Greensboro, and then she went to this little place called that's where I saw her. I saw her at this place called Southern. It's a cigar, one of them cigar places where people go in and smoke cigars and stuff. She hung out with us there. She was everywhere. She had a good time when she came home. She really enjoyed coming home, and she didn't have to, have any of her people with her. It was just her and some of her friends. And she was like, I want to go through and see such and such, and I want to go through and see such and such, And so, yes, same old. She's same person y'all see on YouTube and all TV. It's the same. Tabitha. And you know who else is from here? That a lot of people be shocked that I know? Fantasia. I've been knowing Fantasia all of her life. Her grandma, Fantasia's grandmother, Mother Collins, used to ride to work with my daddy. And Mother Collins and her husband and 2 other guys used to come to our church to sing and tear that church up. But yeah, I've been knowing Fantasia for probably all her life. I remember that because everybody talked about how she was pregnant by cheating. Man who already had a girl, hush your mouth. And she named the baby Choice because his name was Chance. Girl, I ain't remember that. Girl, what? Girl, that's some gossip. I remember when they got married though. So they got married after she had. Let me think. Let me think. Cause it seemed like when he was working, and I don't want to say where he was working because I done told enough to where people can cross reference everything. But it seemed like they were married already then. I have to ask my sisters. I feel like they was already married. But yeah, he do have a daughter that she calls her bonus child. Okay, definitely after the baby. Oh, I didn't see. You just told me something I ain't know. But like I said, I didn't know her very, very, very well. Right to be told, we might know some. We might know some of the same people. To be honest, we might know some of. You might know my sisters. Darn it, you might know my sisters. But anyway, because I think my other oldest sister worked at APAC. She was on the team that did UPS. Cause APAC did everything. They did customer service for a lot of different people and stuff. It was like they did a little of everything. But anyway, child, that's some gossip. Okay, so let me get on back in here. I've been out here. I've been out here for a while, walking around this area with these, trying to get somebody to take people for a ride on the yacht. Every time I ask somebody, they just stare at me like I'm crazy. But I've been out here this morning for a little while. So you only did the UPS contracts? Yeah, that's what I did when I was there. I did the UPS contracts, and that's what my sister did. But I know they did a lot of other stuff. Uh-huh. We might know. We really, really might know some of the same people. Right to be told. Anybody work for Bank of America? That ain't where I work, y'all. Okay, yeah, y'all. That's where I work. I work at Bank of America. Cause it seemed like everybody worked at either American Express, Bank of America. What else is popular? I'm trying to think of this. I don't know, but there's a lot of little places popular. But anyway, I'm gonna get on off of here, and this is going on members only, and on the next one we're gonna talk about. It was two things I said: dating, and it was something else that came up that I said that we could talk about. But dating, we can talk about that dating thing. Oh God. Oh, dating. Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one. Anyway, thank y'all for coming in. I know where Wendover West is. Yeah. Shoot. Head that way, through that way, probably twice a week, probably. They High Point Road is no longer High Point Road. Now it's Gate City. Gate City. What is it? Gate City Boulevard. I don't know why they changed the name. But get me all confused. But thank y'all for coming in. This is going on members only. Thank you to my members. And in the next one, we're going to talk about dating. Dating. So y'all be good. This is Cruiser. Thank y'all for hanging with me.